called Myanmar? Never heard of it.
Yes, you have.
No, I really haven't.
You know what this is, right?
Yeah, that's a Burmese python.
Well, there you go. Burmese.
Well, that's Burma.
Yeah.
But Myanmar.
Is Burma.
It's... Oh. Oh, by the way, guys, this is Caleb's wife, Jillian. Say hi.
Hi, guys.
I was looking for this. Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Welcome to Southeast Asia's tenacious older sister. She likes to do what she wants and don't tell her to change anything, unless if it's her name, then she's totally down. Over the years, Myanmar has gone through quite a few interesting chapters, and it all begins in the humid rainforest of the Irrawaddy River. Let's begin. Myanmar, or Burma, is pretty much the bridge that links the Indian subcontinent to China and Southeast Asia, and it's interesting to see the role that they play in the geopolitical atmosphere. First of all, the country is located in Southeast Asia, bordered by 5 other countries with a coast along the Andaman Sea and broader Bay of Bengal. They even have a long slice of the Kra Isthmus, part of the peninsula that is shared by 3 countries. Here, the southernmost mainland area, Kautong, can be found. However, on the coasts, the country has over 800 islands, and the territory extends further south. The southernmost point is here, Island. If you go just a bit north, though, the largest island, Kadan Kyun, is located. Keep in mind, these small islands, known as the Cocos, just off the Andaman Islands belonging to India, are also Myanmar's territory. The country is divided into 21 administrative divisions. This is where things get a little tricky. First, there are 7 states and 7 regions. They are considered equivalent, and the only distinction is that the states typically have an ethnic minority, whereas regions have the largest majority group, the Bamar Burmese people. Within these 2 areas, the Shan State and the Sagaing region, 5 self-administered zones and 1 self-administered division exist. These are kind of strange areas that are led by a chairman nominated by the armed forces. It's kind of confusing. Finally, the newly moved and constructed capital of Naypyidaw, the 3rd largest city in the country, acts as its own union territory. The largest city is actually Yangon in the south, which was the capital for the longest time. It even holds the largest international airport, Yangon International, as well as the largest seaport, the Myanmar Port Authority. Otherwise, the 2nd largest city is Mandalay up north, which was also the last royal capital, and the 2nd busiest airport as well lies here, Mandalay International. Whew! Apart from all that, Myanmar actually has a pretty well interconnected rail system that goes to virtually every corner of the country. The vast majority of the people live along the Irrawaddy River and river delta that flows into the ocean to the south where Yangon lies. Fun fact, the capital, Naypyidaw, which means the abode of the king, is actually a young planned city. And it's funny because there's no official reason as to why the city was built. Some people might say things like,
oh, it was built further up north to centralize the seat of legislation and give stability to all states and regions.
Nah, we built it to avoid cyclones. Come on, safety first, you know?
No, Yangon was too crowded, and they just told a bunch of people to get out and move there.
Actually, it was a passion project by this guy, and he used a series of lucky numbers and fortune tellers to determine the area it should be built on.
well, either way, at over 4,800 square kilometers in size, it's huge, but in return, it has a pretty low population density, and it has this eerie-looking empty 20-lane highway. And speaking of places that stick out in Myanmar, some spots of interest you might want to check out if you visit might include the Inwa Ruins, the Pagoda of Holy Snakes, the 2nd largest bell in the world, this large reclining Buddha, the Shwenan Da Kyung Temple, Nyang Ohak Jungle Temple Village, this temple in Mandalay, the world's largest book carved in stones, Bogyoke Market, Taochan War Cemetery, the Independence Monument, the Golden Rock, Shwegadon Pagoda, and probably the most famous landmark, the ancient city of Bagan with over 2,200 temples. You can even ride hot air balloons and observe it from above. Absolutely breathtaking. Of course, one reason why they are so breathtaking is because the buildings are surrounded by lush vegetation all over the country. Now, in the best way I can put it, if you look at Myanmar's layout physically, it kind of looks like a spilling bowl. Let me explain. The country is basically surrounded on all sides from their neighbors by various mountain chains. You have the Arakan, Yoma, and Ching Hills in the southwest, the Naga Hills and Hengduan Mountains, part of the larger Himalayas in the north, where the tallest peak in all of Southeast Asia, Hakakaborazi, can be found. Then there's the Shan Plateau, the Karen Hills, as well as the Dana and Tenasserim Hills in the south. That means the central interior of Myanmar is generally flat, with incredibly lush valleys fed by the longest and most important river of the country, the Irrawaddy, sourced by the snowmelt and springs of the Himalayas up north. Speaking of the north, the largest natural lake in the country can be found here in Doggy Lake. It also has a cool pagoda on it. Unfortunately, Myanmar is kind of smashed right in between the Sunda and Indian plates, right off the Burma microplate in the ocean, and the entire lush center of the country lies on the Sagaing fault line, which is subject to occasional earthquakes. A recent one in 2016 destroyed or damaged over 170 ancient temples in Bagan. In addition, though, this also gives Myanmar some geothermal activity. The country contains some of the few rare mud volcano spots in the world, mostly near the town of Minbu.
Mud volcanoes, huh? We should hang out sometime.
Production-wise, Myanmar is loaded with various resources and industries. More notably, though, they are known for producing precious stones like high-quality sapphires, pearls, jades, and rubies.
Wait, don't they have a pagoda made out of jade?
Yes, they do.
Dope.
And the country alone supplies about 90% of the world's rubies, mostly found in high concentrated deposits around the north area of Mandalay. The country has an incredibly diverse flora and fauna, over 300 mammals, including the famous Burmese white elephant, 100 bird species, including the national bird, the peacock, and 300 species of reptile. One interesting side note, Myanmar is part of the broader region known as the Golden Triangle. In a nutshell, this is basically the largest drug production region of Southeast Asia. Most of it lies in the Shan state. To this day, Myanmar is actually the largest producer of methamphetamines in the world, used for both medicine and illegal recreation. In addition, they are also the second largest producer of opium after Afghanistan.
What can I say? It grows well here.
According to the Bangkok Post, the illegal trade is estimated to produce about $2 billion annually, or somewhere around 40% of their foreign exchange alone, which is pretty high. Finally, food. Some dishes you guys of Burmese geographies have mentioned might include dishes like la pet, monti, coconut noodles, pepiot tamin, so many different curries, these desserts, and of course the national dish you can find pretty much anywhere, mohinga.
You forgot to mention that Tanaka, am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Tanaka.
Tanaka stuff. It's like the sunscreen they make from tree bark and like everyone puts it on their faces.
Yep, that too.
Dope.
And that's just one of the many cultural traits you'll find here, which brings us to...
By the way, one of our fans from Canada sent fan mail and they want to give you these Arnold Schwarzenegger socks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. I'll be back.
Now, Myanmar's people are honestly some of the most fascinating in the world because there's over 130 ethnic groups in the country. Each one kind of retains some kind of unique trait untouched by contemporary values. First of all, the country has somewhere around 56 million people and has one of the lowest energy consumption rates per capita in all of Asia. Out of the many ethnic groups, the largest ones are the Burman or Bamar at about 68%. Next are the Shan at about 9%, the Karen at about 7%, the Rakhine at about 4%, and the rest are made up of the remaining 130 groups with a noticeable Chinese and Indian community. For their currency, they use the chat. Yes, in Burmese romanization, KY makes a ch sound. They use the type C, D, F, and G plug outlets, and surprisingly, even though they were a former British colony and some of their neighbors like India and Thailand drive on the left side, they actually drive on the right side of the road, but it's weird because most of their cars still have right-hand side steering. Now, before we go forward, let's clear something up.
What is the title you give someone from Myanmar?
Why, thank you for asking, Ken. Most people from Myanmar are Burmese, which is just another name for the Bamar majority people group. This is also why the country was called Burma in the past. However, not everybody in the country is Burmese ethnically, so if you meet somebody from Myanmar that is not Burmese, you can call them by whatever group they belong to, like the Karen or the Shan, or if you really want to play it safe, the general title for anybody from Myanmar is Myanmar.
But wait, then what is the language they speak in Myanmar?
Wow, you have such inquisitive pep today, Ken. Thank you for asking as well. They speak the language of the majority group Burmese. The Burmese language is a unique tongue unrelated to any of their neighbors. Linguists say that maybe it's a distant cousin of Tibetan, but for now it's kind of its own thing. And it's written in a strange, weird script that looks like alien bubbles. You could stare at it for hours.
We should hang out sometime.
Faith-wise, the country is predominantly Buddhist at somewhere around 88%, most adhering to the Theravada branch of teaching, and Buddhism plays a huge role in the culture. You see it literally everywhere. Monks, temples, pagodas, statues. It's incredibly Buddhist. Nonetheless, about 6.2% are Christians, mostly among the Kachin, Chin, and Kayin peoples. Islam is practiced by about 4%, mostly by the Kamen, Pante, and Pashu Malays, and also the most notable one that makes up the news articles, the Rohingya. In regards to the Rohingya, yes, I know it's a very messy, tricky subject to cover, and that would take way too long to explain in this episode, so I made a whole other video for you guys to use as context. Check it out. Otherwise, let's move on.
Came prepared for this one.
Yes, I did. Otherwise, Myanmar kind of has a long history of keeping things to themselves and maintaining their own way of life, minimizing outside influence. I mean, they are one of the only 3 countries that doesn't completely, at least, use the metric system.
Yeah, we're still in it together, guys. Woo!
Today, they still use the traditional Burmese measuring units in many parts of the country, which are hard to explain explain. For example, a lan is 6 feet long, a ngase ta is 1.8 pounds, a la mu is 2.7 fluid ounces, and so on. And in 2013, the country's Minister of Commerce announced that they would prepare the country to adopt the metric system over time. It's like...
I think you're going.
Oh, no, you're coming over here.
America!
And now let's talk about some culture stuff. And you know what, Caleb and Jillian, just take this because I've been on camera for so long and you guys just kind of sit in the corner doing nothing.
Oh, yeah, okay. Culturally speaking, there are too many things to list with the various ethnic groups of Myanmar. You have things like
The silver jewelry of the Jingpo people,
flowery headdresses of women from the Lisu Hill tribe,
the Kaya people and their sashes,
the Mon people and their music,
the Austronesian Moken people,
the Rakhine and their coastal flair,
the Shan and their cuisine and costumed performances,
the Pa'o and their fire rocket festival,
the Wa people and their water buffalo sacrifice tradition,
and the Taron people. There are only about 5 left in the world and they average around 4 feet tall.
and finally, you've probably seen pictures of the famous Padang people.
With their brass-ringed, long-necked women that stretch their collarbones to give off the image of a long neck, traditionally seen as a sign of beauty.
Some nationwide shared aspects amongst the people might include things like
Chinlone, considered one of the nation's sports. It's like a wicker ball hacky sack type of game with 6 players.
there's also Letwe. It's like Muay Thai, but even crazier because you can use your head when fighting.
Many people wear their traditional long yi on a daily basis. It can be folded and used in many ways like pants or even an umbrella.
Today, the nation is a unitary, parliamentary, constitutional republic.
2011 was a big year for political restructuring.
However, the military-backed party still holds a high level of power to this day, making things a little bit complicated.
Historically, though, there were many kingdoms and royal Burmese households.
Although the royal throne was abolished in 1885, the descendants of the throne are still alive today and known as monarch pretenders.
Today, this guy is the head of the royal house of Kongbong, currently the heir to the throne of Burma.
Even though it doesn't matter and really does nothing for the country.
In the quickest way we can condense the history of Myanmar, Hindu and animist kingdoms, Buddhism comes in, the Pew, Little Bagan Kingdom, Big Bagan Kingdom, Mongol invasion, Tonggu Empire, small kingdoms, Kongbang Dynasty, Sino-Burma Wars, a lot of Burma-Siam Wars, Big Kongbang Kingdom, British come in, 1 big war and 2 small wars with the British, boom, colonial time, World War II, kick British overlords out with Japan, crap, Japan is worse, they go back to the British and fight off Japan, independence, coup, socialism, name change, protest, military rule, 2011 democracy again, kind of, Rohingya stuff, again, check out the video, and here we are today. Some notable people either from Myanmar or Burmese Myanmar descent might include people like these kings, Bokyoke Aung San, Neto, these artists, Suk Bahadur, this actress, Angla Aung San, Sasai Kamleng, and of course, everyone has now heard of Aung San Suu Kyi. People with known Burmese heritage abroad include celebrities like Bollywood actress Helen, Peter Badakan, Jamie Cullum, Zuleika Robinson, Morisaki Ween, Wendy Lawyun, and Richard Beckinsale was also quarter Burmese.
In conclusion, Myanmar is a place where Buddhism and beauty meet earthquakes and conflict, vibrant colors, sounds, taste, but with a slight stressful twitch in their eye. Either way, they are Myanmar. Stay tuned. Namibia is coming up next.